Hey everyone, Tim with Collect Jurassic, back already again with another news update. This is part 2 of our Jurassic World Dominion toy reveals from Mattel during Toy Fair month. Even though the show itself was canceled, there is just tons of virtual reveals happening, and we've got all the latest images in this video of Mattel Jurassic toys, everything from Matchbox to Hammond Collection, Super Colossal, vehicles for the main line, everything. So a lot to cover here, so we'll go ahead and get started. The first assortment we're going to be looking at is the Matchbox assortment with the dinosaur and vehicle 2-packs. This first one is all new with the big baddie from the Dominion film, the Giganotosaurus, here getting captured by the truck. Love these new minifigures because they also scale with each other. And what that means is, if you're familiar with the Fallen Kingdom line, all the minis for that assortment were all the same size. So a Raptor was the same size as a T-Rex, etc., etc. But this new line, they're actually going to be scaling the figures. So Giganotosaurus here will be one of the biggest. Velociraptor will be a little bit smaller. Even Gallimimus is part of this assortment and will be smaller. And like the minis before them, they have some great detail. Don't have a ton of paint, but that's not really what these figures are for. And what's cool about them is they do scale with the Matchbox vehicles, hence this assortment, and they work really well, especially when you have these cool capture features. But even the sculpt here on this smaller scale Giganotosaurus looks really, really nice. All those details from the film design are making it into this super small scale. Here's another one, and I think this one might even be just a repaint slash retweaked version of the Fallen Kingdom vehicle versus dinosaur set. We have Rexy here, and also this kind of Humvee looking capture vehicle with these huge claws. But pretty sure this one was one that came out with the same assortment in Fallen Kingdom, so nothing too exciting here. But I do want to know if they've tweaked the scale of the T-Rex to kind of go along with that aforementioned scaling across the mini line, with the smaller figures scaling with these bigger figures. And honestly, I can't wait for the full mini line to be revealed, because there's a lot of cool species in that just in the first wave, and I know the subsequent waves will have different species as well. So the mini line that's always been popular since Mattel took over the Jurassic license doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and actually they seem to be leaning into it a little more with more assortments, more play sets, all that good stuff. Last Matchbox vehicle we're going to look at is this Stegosaurus capture vehicle, and while we don't have a great look at the Stegosaurus because it's mostly it's mostly captured right now in this giant claw piece, we do get a nice look at this vehicle. It does look like a new vehicle, and I love the blue hue. It reminds me of the ACU, but it is engine again. On all these vehicles, they look like they have engine branding, but this one actually has the logo, which is kind of interesting because as you'll see later on in the video, we have some vehicles from Biosyn, which Biosyn is part of the new Dominion movie, but engine is still showing up in the toys anyway. But honestly, this could be a case of them just reusing tooling and things like that they had already figured out for Fallen Kingdom, which was all those capture vehicles were exclusively engine branded. But I hope there's more vehicles in this assortment that utilize not only the Biosyn vehicles, but also the Biosyn logo itself. I know there's more vehicles in this line, so we'll probably see them later at some point. But moving on to Rowdy Roars, this is kind of a fun assortment within an assortment. So the Uncaged line from Mattel is going to cover a lot of different releases. If you head to collectjurassic.com, we do have our checklist up, and you can kind of see everything that will be part of that Uncaged lineup. But the Rowdy Roars are definitely one of the bigger figures coming out for Uncaged. So kind of inspired by Mattel Snap Squad. They have kind of cartoony proportions with really large heads. And they also have some really fun electronic features. And Dilophosaurus here, love seeing the spitter. Any kind of merchandise we can get for Dilophosaurus is always exciting. And if you've seen the Jurassic World Dominion trailer, you know that we're in for more Dilophosaurus in the movie. And of course, that means we're going to be getting toys too. So you can see in this image, this does look like Snap Squad, but it has some really fun features where it kind of, you touch its head and it roars and walks around. And I think its frill even moves around. So some fun electronic sound features and movement features. But the one I'm really excited about, especially after viewing that Jurassic World Dominion trailer, is Beta here. Beta being the baby version of Blue. I think it's actually like almost a clone which they explain in the movie how all that works. But very cute little dinosaur in the movie, so probably any toy is going to fly off the shelf, and I'm sure this Rowdy Roar baby beta is going to be one of the more popular ones because it does, like the Dilophosaurus, make lots of cute little noises, and it kind of runs around on its feet, and it just looks cute. It's got that big giant head and those big giant eyes. What's not to like, right? So kind of fun, kind of a newer version of the Primal Pal Blue that Mattel already gave us, only this time we're talking about beta and not blue, just another baby version of the Velociraptor in toy form with those sort of, I would say, exaggerated features that make it a little less realistic, but a little more cute and cuddly. So that's Uncaged Rowdy Roars. One more sort of non-core item I want to cover before we get, well, we have a few more things, but this one's really not even action figure per se, but I figured it was worth including in the video, and that are these awesome role-playing masks. This is the T-Rex. If you're familiar with the Fallen Kingdom merchandise, we got a really nice blue one, blue Velociraptor that is, and now we're getting a T-Rex as well, so also an electronic toy that roars. You can get a nice feel of the coloration of the Mattel T-Rex that we'll see in other toys in the future. We also have some Imaginext to cover in the video, and this one, I know there's a lot of Imaginext collectors out there. I don't follow it quite as closely, but there's some really cool stuff on the way for Dominion, so I wanted to mention it. One of which being their version of Giganotosaurus is it's a huge toy. I mean, look at this thing; it's massive. So pretty exciting there, and I know there's some more figures of new species coming out for Imaginext and Dominion, so we'll cover those as they're revealed. And now on to the main event, and that is the core Mattel Jurassic line, the 3.75-inch scale. We're going to talk about Ferocious Force first, and what we have first up is a Triceratops, one of the kind of stars of Jurassic World Dominion, at least as far as the trailer that we just were treated to is concerned. And this figure looks amazing considering the price point. I almost want to say it has Amber Collection-like detail. The paint application obviously isn't quite as complex, but just looking at the teeth, it looks like a really, really nice toy in terms of finer details and paint. And this would probably be, I know they all have names. I'm guessing this is Tiger or Pantera. I don't know. I know it's not Ghost because it's not light color, but I really like the way this figure is shaping up, and I hope we get all four. And this first one just looks really, really nice. And just in this first look, especially the eye paint also looks really nice, kind of recessed in there on the head. So that's the first Ferocious Force figure. Next up, we have Baby Nasutoceratops, which is adorable. Another baby toy, another baby dinosaur in the Mattel lineup. We had Baby Brachiosaurus. That was obviously a very popular one when it was released. And now we're getting Nasutoceratops, so we can all finally kind of complete that battle at Big Rock scene with the adult Nasutoceratops defending the baby from the Allosaurus. And this toy looks really, really cute, and it also uses its paint application pretty wisely, considering it's somewhat limited. We have painted horns. We have some darker color on the frill, those adorable big eyes, and then the kind of beak and under the skull, sharing a lighter color. So not a lot of complex paint applications, but what they have on it does look pretty nice here. And overall, the toy is just the right amount of adorable while still kind of, not looking too cartoony and fitting in with the rest of the Mattel Jurassic figures, and especially in this Ferocious Force lineup in terms of size. All right, this one's a really exciting one. That's Dimetrodon. With Mattel, we've only gotten one Dimetrodon so far, and it was, in my opinion, it was kind of ugly. So I'm glad that they're revisiting the species, and it looks like they've sort of retooled a little bit of the head, especially, but even the some of the other parts of the dinosaur, like the tail, look a little bit different than the one we have. I really like this coloration on this one too, especially the darker sort of splash of paint on the nose of Dimetrodon, but even how it carries on into the frill. It's not the most complex paint job like the rest of these Ferocious Force figures, but I do think that it makes good use of the colors it does have. And you can see here in this close-up a lot of the detail with the scaling and the little knobs on the sides of the dinosaur just look really, really, really nice. And we know we're getting another Dimetrodon on top of this one, the extreme damage. So I'm anxious to see what these two look like next to each other when that one is finally revealed. Moving on, we have the final Ferocious Force dinosaur, and I don't think we have a name on this one yet. I know there's a lot of guesses going on out there, but I'm not comfortable, A, trying to pronounce half of those guesses, and B, sort of saying on the channel, kind of committing to something that we really don't know what dinosaur it is. Is it from the movie? Is it just sort of one of those Mattel figures they wanted to just make? Time will tell, but no name on this one yet, but very interesting design. You can see it kind of has T-Rex fingers with those two finger hands. It's got the sort of chicken legs too. It reminds me a lot of a rooster, actually. And the head is very blunt if you look at it. It's kind of got a interesting shaped head, which kind of informs a lot of the guesses people have had about which dinosaur this is. But until we know more, all we know is that it's got lots of feathers and it's a very unique silhouette in terms of the skull. And again, the paint application is simple, but I like it. I like the dark paint on the head and the tail. It just works really well. Moving on to the sound slashing Therizinosaurus, definitely one of the probably premier toys coming out of the Mattel Jurassic World Dominion line. This is a bigger figure. It doesn't really fit into the regular assortments. Think of it sort of like a Control and Conquer Carnotaurus, so sort of its own thing, but it does have a really cool action feature that manipulates the clawed hands and also has sound as well. I love the way this thing looks. We only got a glimpse of it in the trailer, but the toy looks like a blast. It has a lot of awesome details. You can see the feathers sculpted throughout, that big white stripe on the neck, and of course those massive claws. But one thing I wanted to note on the head, which is a little disappointing, is that they did opt not to paint the beak of the Therizinosaurus, which is a big missed opportunity because Therizinosaurus does have a sort of a beak in the film that's a different color. So I wish they would have painted it, but the eye looks really cool, and overall the dinosaur looks great. Just a minor gripe that I wish would be rectified in later versions of the toy. But here we have I think this is the Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex, not to be confused with the the Thrash and Throw Mattel T-Rex, but it actually looks very similar in terms of those joints in the chest and neck area. But I do believe this is an all-new T-Rex figure, not a repaint of anything we've already gotten. It does have a really cool paint job, at least in this promotional photo, which aren't always to be trusted. But if it's anything like this photo we have of it, it does look very complex. Lots of layering going on, lots of layering of browns. It looks really, really nice. And I really hope the actual figure looks like that. But again, this is just a promotional photo. You can especially tell on the head kind of how airbrushed and perfect the eye is, that this probably isn't indicative of an actual production piece of the T-Rex. But I'm anxious to see what this thing looks like in action, because that will really show off kind of what those action features are all about. Now let's get to something really exciting, and that's vehicles, something we've been missing sorely from Mattel Jurassic, and we actually have a couple to go over today. The first of which is this, not actually technically Mattel core line. I think it's a Matchbox, but it's a 3 3/4 scale RC Jeep Gladiator with some kind of cool like capture thing on the front or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but it looks like it has some sort of mechanical feature to it. And it also comes with a Dracorex figure, which is sort of random. One thing I am disappointed about is the lack of the Biosyn logo here as well. We have that Jurassic World logo that was not even used in the movie. It was used on the posters. They've used this logo on a couple of their RC toys. I'm not quite sure why they don't have the correct Jurassic World logo, why they're using the poster version. It wasn't ever in the movie. But even more so, I'd rather just have a Biosyn logo on this truck, right? That would be even more accurate to the movie. But it does look really cool, and it does come with a dinosaur figure, and the human figures will fit inside. So hard to complain too much. Next up, we have the Capture and Crush truck, ominously named Capture and Crush. Not sure if there's an actual crushing component of this figure, but you can capture, or of this vehicle, but you can capture dinosaur figures, as you can see in the photo. Comes with that Velociraptor figure. Really cool crane that you can use to pick up things, which I know as a kid I would have loved that. Looks like we also have a rocket launcher on top, and of course a cab that fits human figures. The proportions are a little like kind of wonky, almost looks like a Tonka truck, but when you compare it to the size of that Raptor, it actually isn't that oversized. It just sort of has a squat design, but I love the detailing with the panels and the slash marks, the lights on top, the winch, the molded winch. It just looks like, you know, a vehicle that would be driving around our parks capturing dinosaurs. So I can't wait to see kind of what other features this vehicle has. I'm sure there's more to it than just the missile launcher and the crane. But after all this time to finally be getting sort of a bigger vehicle from Mattel Jurassic is definitely really exciting after the past couple years of not really getting that kind of stuff to play with alongside dinosaurs. And here we have the super colossal Giganotosaurus. This figure looks amazing. The detail on these super colossal figures has been so impressive the past couple years, and I imagine it's going to be the exact same for this newer species. Again, Jurassic World Dominion's big baddie is Giganotosaurus, so we can expect to see a lot of different toy versions of that, super colossal being one of them. I believe this figure will swallow little figures like the super colossal figures before it. But again, what's really impressive about these super colossal dinosaurs is the amount of detail that they pack in with the scales and the slash marks. I know the Indominus and super colossal Toro were both some of my most favorite figures in terms of accuracy to the movie, and a Giganotosaurus here hopefully is accurate to the movie as well. I mean, we've seen the prologue for Jurassic World Dominion, and I would say that dinosaur looks a little meaner than this one in terms of like the eyes and everything, but I'm going to wait until I see the final version of this figure to pass judgment, and either way I'm going to get it because it's a giant bad dinosaur, so how could I not? Moving on, we're going to be looking at the Hammond Collection figures. We've already talked about a little bit about those in our previous video, but we have some new ones to look at today. First one here being our first human figure for Hammond Collection, Ian Malcolm, naturally. And this figure, again, is 3 3/4, not 6 inches, but it packs all that articulation, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. I believe there are articulated wrists as well. The coat even comes off. And it also has that flare accessory. I believe this figure will probably have a few more accessories, so we'll just have to wait and see. But the detail, as you can see, is really, really nice with the stitching on the jacket and all that. But even the likeness for Ian Malcolm here, or sorry, the likeness for Jeff Goldblum to Ian Malcolm looks even better than some of the toys we've already got for that. As we kind of pan up and look at this. Also, the sunglasses are a little bit more accurate to the movie than the sunglasses that are on the figures we already have from Mattel for this character. So I love seeing Ian Malcolm, but I'm hoping we get Alan Grant and the other characters as well. Next up is the Hammond Collection Velociraptor. Looks very similar to the Amber Collection Velociraptor, but smaller scale, which is what I'm most excited about, is this kind of having a classic Jurassic Raptor with tons of articulation, scaling with all the other toys I collect. That was always my gripe with Amber Collection, is didn't scale with all the other Mattel Jurassic figures. It was its own thing, and the toys were beautiful, but now we're getting those beautiful toys in a scale that actually goes with everything else. So this Raptor is probably the one I'm most looking forward to next to Parasaurolophus. I know we've seen some actual photos of it on Behind the Gates, and the detail looks even better in those photos. So very excited about this one. Classic Jurassic Raptor. I think they've nailed the paint sort of mix for this Raptor at this point, and it looks like it's going to look really nice on this smaller scale figure too. So I'll probably be buying a couple of these myself to fill out my park. And there'll be more Hammond Collection figures on the way, so this is literally just the beginning. So many Jurassic World Dominion toys, and this is just part 2 of our reveal, so I imagine I'll be back with at least one more part, if not a couple more, covering all of these toys being revealed as part of sort of Toy Fair month virtually. Just a lot of stuff to get excited about. It's definitely going to be a very fun summer for Jurassic collectors with all of these toys coming out. But I think that's all I have to talk about in this video. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.